How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living?
We're not. Truth of the matter, most of us are living paycheck to paycheck with credit card debt. I know people who are legitimately putting gas and groceries on credit cards just so that they can get back and forth to work.
Jeez.
I believe that this is what most people are now calling the silent depression.
You already know what it is. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review, another episode. Hey, TikTok, you up to bat. Bah. It's your boy Laid Back. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, two things we got to do. You got to hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. You are the prize in 2025. You are the prize in 2025. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Stay up to date with all the videos, man. Make sure you hit the like button. We back with another compilation, man. We talking about financial crisis and what's going on right now. It's going to be crazy. So you make it to the end of this one, you a real one for real. This is going to be some real shit in here. So I'm just telling you. Share this with the last person you texting your phone to, man. If you a real one, I'm just saying. But let's go ahead and get into a Fire Squad. What's poppin'? Let's get it.
Class on its deathbed in 2023, or are people just complaining and freaking out on social media for no reason? This is one of those stories that to me is just fascinating. I can't look away from it. And so to look at how far our financial health has fallen, I say let's compare some basic cost of living numbers from 1983 compared to what we're facing in 2023, just 40 years later. And that might seem like a long time ago, but 40-year-olds today were little babies back in 1983. And their parents had dreams of raising them into a world where they could do better than they did growing up. But the country that developed over those 40 years is unlike anything those parents back then probably could have imagined for their little babies, who are 40-year-olds today. So talk about a midlife crisis, because back in 1983, the median household income was $24,580 per year. Today, that number has gone up to $76,201, which is an increase of 210%, which is pretty cool. We are all making more money. But back in 1983, the median price of a single family home was $75,300. And in 2023, the median price of a single family home, many of those homes are the same homes that existed and were built in 1983. The median price for those is now $431,500.
What? 400,000, bro. Come on, man. Come on, man. People only making 70. Do your own research.
$500, which is an increase of 473%, which is interesting. If my math is correct, home prices have gone up more than people's ability to earn. But it doesn't stop there, because in 1983, the average price of a new car was $9,175. Wow. And in 2023, the average cost of a brand new car in the United States is $48,000, which is an increase of 423%. So now let's hit some necessities really quickly and compare the things that we all have to buy on a daily or monthly basis, like food, gasoline, healthcare, and the pesky issue of higher education. So for food, to keep things simple, we'll look at a McDonald's meal, a Big Mac meal. And in 83, you could get a Big Mac, fries, and a Coke for $2.59. A gallon of gas back then cost you $1.16. And in 1983, healthcare costs per person came out to about $1,459 per person per year. And at that time, for a 4-year degree, you'd wind up paying $4,000. So let's
4-year degree, $4,000, bro. What? All right, let me just let the video play. This is crazy.
Run those numbers against what you have to pay for those same things in 2023 on your increased median household income of $76,000 a year. But let's keep in mind, not everybody is making $76,000 a year. There are still people in our society who are making 20, 30, 40 grand a year, and how those people are surviving is a complete mystery. Because today, that Big Mac, fries, and a Coke has gone from $2.59 to $10.82. That's a 317% increase.
Whoa.
And the crazy thing is, fast food back in the day wasn't just convenient because of how fast it was actually in many cases way cheaper to eat fast food than to buy food from the store and prepare meals yourself at home. And that is just not the case anymore. So anyway, back to gasoline. The price of fuel has gone from $1.16 to, on average, $3.57 per gallon. That's a 207% increase. Healthcare in the United States has gone from roughly $1,459 per person to over $7,000 per person per year, a 359% increase. And finally, let's talk about education, because the price of that four-year degree has exploded from $4,000 for a four-year degree to $104,000 on average. That doesn't include grad school. That is a 2,500% increase.
What?
Penny stocks and crypto meme coins don't go up by that much. And this is where the middle class finds itself in 2023, where the median household income has increased by 210% over the last 40 years. But during that same time, the cost of everything else that we mentioned in this video, collectively averaged out, has increased by 719%. And most of that has been driven by the cost of education and the cost of housing. And we haven't even talked about taxes and Social Security and childcare and a dozen other different things that American families have to pay for every single month. Now, I don't know if the middle class is dying, but these numbers are crazy, and it certainly feels like the middle class is in trouble with no way out. And the biggest and most obvious issue here comes down to the price of higher education. Because if you want a society to progress and flourish and grow and innovate, you want an educated population. But the cost of getting a four-year degree has increased by 2,500% in the last 40 years, while the income that you can expect to make with that degree has only increased by 210%.
Oh, hell no!
Are y'all seeing it? It's like you being sucked into a trap. It costs more money to do this. It costs more money to do that. But when I get this degree, it's not necessarily bumping up my pay to meet the...
And it doesn't take a math whiz to see how stupid that investment is. So aside from skipping college on your journey through life, the question really is, what do we all do about this? I see this question in my comments all the time, and I'm no expert, but I love digging into this stuff on my own because I find it fascinating. And it's probably worth mentioning, with an election year on the horizon, that it's worth considering a big reason we are where we are financially is because of how easily our government and politicians are influenced by giant multi-billion-dollar corporations who all use lobbyists to buy, pay for, and influence politicians to pass laws and legislation that benefit them rather than us. And these politicians that sell out have allowed corporate America to basically loot the middle class and use them as their personal piggy bank for 40 years. And I really don't have any answers, but it definitely feels like until the buying off of politicians before they even make it into office stops, these things probably won't get better, but they'll continue to get worse. But again, I'm no expert. So what do you think the solution is?
That's in 2023 too, 2 years ago.
The United States financial system is falling apart, and they are pushing a narrative on us so that we keep putting faith in it while they are actually hedging that bet against us. And in turn, we are all essentially going to be screwed by having US dollars. I don't know why I haven't talked about this in the past, but I've been kind of stuck on this for a while now. I posted that TikTok of me buying silver around 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm up around 100% on that investment. It's the same thing with crypto, same thing with really any other asset class that is up against the US dollar. The US dollar continues to crumble, and right now the narrative that is being painted for us as normal human beings is to constantly transact our time, our effort, and our ideas for US dollars. And now this is being pushed to a global scale where the cryptocurrency markets are essentially fully transacted based on USDT or USDC, which are stable coins backed, I guess, against the US dollar. So again, we are trying to push people to continue to exchange time, effort, and ideas and work for US dollars. Meanwhile, the US government is hedging against this by getting into these TradeFi plays, such as exchanges, prediction markets, buying crypto and buying up commodities, literally hedging a bet against their own system while we are just consistently working for a currency that continues to devalue over time. Meanwhile, the government that is pushing us to be able to try and exchange time, effort, and ideas for this currency, they are like, hey, we need to get out of this ASAP. And that's literally what's happening right now. And they're using us to just prop up the system just a little bit more by, again, forcing the global economy to do these transactions for USDT, USDC, while they swap out the financial systems. And we can see this narrative being played out by them pushing us on sports betting, by them pushing us on prediction markets like Polymarket. Like, you think people are like, oh, how much, I think that this team is going to win today, and in turn, what do I want? US dollars. I'm going to go to an online casino, and what am I going to get? USDT, USDC. I think that this crypto is going to go higher. In turn, what do you get when you exchange it back out? USDT, USDC. All of these things are being pushed super heavily. They're pushing the crypto adoption narrative on you guys so that they can get out of the current financial crisis that we are in, which is the US dollar. And in turn, they are buying up assets, and we are, again, consistently exchanging time, effort, and ideas for US dollars, which are eventually going to be worthless. This is going to be my last video on this. I've kind of rambled enough on this topic, but yeah, I figured that I might as well make this video. And just so you guys know, this isn't going to be like tomorrow that this is going to happen. It's not going to be over the next couple months. This is a long time sort of thing. It's going to take a couple years to play out, and it's actually already been playing out in front of our faces. We can see the drastic rise in Bitcoin, the drastic rise in gold, the drastic rise in silver. This is obviously telling us, literally by these assets, that hey, the US dollar is failing. And we can even look at the DXY chart and we can see that the US dollar is failing. Anyways, the way that you guys can kind of help yourselves avoid being caught up in this drastic crash of the US dollar would be just getting into these assets, digitalized assets, Bitcoin. I'm not a financial advisor, but this is what I'm doing. Bitcoin, gold, silver, land, like real assets, as this shift takes place. And then there will be a new system, and hopefully it's better than the last one that we had.
Do your own research though, for real.
Here's the real question. If millions of families are going into debt just to eat, what does that say about the true health of the U.S. economy?
Man, I'm sure you know somebody. I'm just going to say that you know somebody that has dealt with that when they trying to feed the family and feed themselves, and it's extremely expensive. Let's just see what she got to say, man.
New survey shows that about a quarter of Americans are using buy now, pay later apps like Klarna, Affirm, and Afterpay just to buy groceries. We are not talking about sneakers and vacations. We're talking about milk, eggs, and pasta on a payment plan. And that number is climbing fast, which means more and more people literally can't afford food up front anymore. Let's be honest. Wall Street might look fine, but Main Street is starving. Call me crazy, but I would love to live in a society where moms don't have to worry about feeding their children, where dads don't have to work 10 jobs to make sure that Eggos can go in the toaster in the morning. That would be my ideal society, but I know I'm a little crazy.
Minimum wage worker who works every single hour of the year without taking a single day off can only afford $377 a month in rent. There is very little hope that the housing market will be able to produce housing that low and that cheap, considering that affordable housing has been on an absolute decline for the past 10 years. Housing policy is having a moment right now, and for good reason. Estimates range that there's a shortage of homes in the U.S. that are somewhere between 1.5 and 7 million. A lot of people are rent burdened. A lot of people can't afford to buy a home, or they're locked in at a mortgage under 3 and couldn't afford to move if they wanted to. All of this is generating incredible discussion of the many ways that policymakers at the federal, state, and local level could act to increase the number of homes and increase mobility in the housing market. But unfortunately, all of their efforts will fall short. Housing affordability is about price relative to income. Supply can move price, but policymakers have been reluctant to move income. The United States is unique in that it has a large share of low-wage workers. The minimum wage is $7.25 an hour and hasn't been raised on the federal level in 15 years.
Whoa.
The United States has pursued a concerted policy effort to keep wages low and to produce low-wage Americans. We have lax labor law and even laxer labor law enforcement. Child labor is flourishing right now. Itself an indicator of what we think workers deserve at the very bottom, workers who are the most vulnerable and who earn the least in income. For all the creativity that goes to housing policy, there's a lack of creativity and movement on the income side. And we will never see the end of a housing affordability crisis so long as our economy is producing such low-wage, low-income workers.
That's a fact. Raise income.
I'm 20 years old. Why is a one-bedroom apartment $600, $1,600? Like, oh my God, for 500 square foot. Rent prices is outrageous. And then these jobs, they're bare minimum jobs. Like, I'm supposed to be in customer service. Before I was a server, I was working at like fast food restaurants, and nothing against them, love it, but we need them jobs. But why are you yelling at me over a burger? So it's one of those type of things. It's like the work life, trying to balance out school, trying to balance out finding housing. It's just overhyped. Like, I really waited my whole life to grow up and do this.
The cost of living in this country is currently, it's not going to be, it is currently unsustainable. And there are people that they know this, but then they'll still look at somebody else that's struggling and then tell them they're not doing good enough. I want you to imagine somebody that makes $75,000 a year. That's a pretty high up wage in terms of like top earners in this country, $75,000 a year. And we're going to go through some things here. This is a person with no debt outside of a car. And please don't hit me with the, you can go buy a car for, shut up, you can't, shut up, stop saying ridiculous things.
Whoa.
An entry-level decent car is $30,000. So this person who puts $200 a month into insurance and they pay 5% into their 401k because shut up, people should be able to put money into their retirement. Because if you're not doing it now, you're never going to get to start doing it later. So after those two things come out of their paycheck and their taxes are paid, they bring home $53,850 a year from a $75,000 paycheck. Average rent in my state for a one-bedroom apartment, because an adult should be able to live by themselves, $1,700. That car payment at 6% for an entry-level, very reasonable sedan, nothing fancy, that car payment's $579 a month. Car insurance, $240 or so a month for a lot of vehicles in this day and age. You're a young person, you've got a nice job, but the insurance companies still want to screw you over. Food. You only cook at home. You never, ever go out. You only cook at home and you only eat decent quality food because a human being should be allowed to eat decent quality food. You pay $879 a month for that. You spend $250 a month in gas. You wear and tear on your car $100 a month. $80 for your phone, $80 for your internet, $175 a month for your electricity, $70 for your water, $20 for your cash. You make $75,000 a year, and outside of a car payment, you have zero debt. Do you know how much money you have left over annually at a $75,000 wage? You do nothing. You don't own a Netflix. You don't go out on a date. You don't pay to go to a park. You don't go watch a movie. You do nothing. If you can't find it on the internet for free, you don't get to do it. If you can't cook it at home for your $800, you don't get to do it. You have $3,700 left over annually. That's like $320 a month. And there's going to be, well, dog's $300. Shut up. Shut your stupid, contrarian, edgelord mouth.
Oh, shit.
That's not a doctor bill, because God knows just because we have insurance doesn't mean that we don't still pay far out the ass when we go to the doctors. People like to be entertained. They want to date. They want to... There's those of you out there that will tell somebody living like this on $75,000 a year before taxes that they are not doing what they're supposed to do, that they should get a second job, that they should get a side hustle, that they should get a better job. And the fact that you would look at somebody with no debt other than a car and say something like this to them means objectively you're a moron and you live in a fantasy world. This is unsustainable.
This is some wild
So Americans are fed up with the cost of living in America. And if you think I'm playing, check this out.
Society is a fucking scam. So you wake up early in the morning to go to work to pay for a house that you're never at. And you pay for a car that primarily gets you from and to work, correct? The government takes anywhere from, let's say 30 to 50% of your wages. And then there's things like VAT, which is basically your money getting taxed that was already taxed. You save up your whole life for a pension, which at the end of the day, the government takes 40 to 50% of that. Then in your elder years, you're living off canned soup and fucking bread because that's all you can afford. And then you get your state pension, which you can't get until you're like 180 years old. And even with that, if you die before you get it, you can't even pass it down to your kids.
Damn.
The government takes it.
Damn.
We are all getting scammed so fucking bad. It's almost comical. People don't see this shit. How can you work 40 or 50 hours a week, especially nowadays, to pay for fucking nothing? So figure 200 hours a month, you give your life to a corporation. And then halfway through the month, you're struggling to get to payday. Sounds pretty fucking familiar, doesn't it? We're giving our lives away for nothing. It is a scam. We're losing more by going to work than staying our asses home.
Wow.
All a big scam. It's called the American Dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Ooh. Ooh.
This is why I feel like the cost of living has never been as bad as it is right now. Because it used to be when the cost of living was high, it was for the things that you need in life. Food, gas, shelter, etc. All of those things cost a lot of money. Right now, all of those things still cost a lot of money. And also, I feel like it's just expensive to just be alive. Like, I feel like my life as soon as I wake up is literally just me putting down a credit card. And it's just a tab. And life is a bartender. And it's just like, what are you going to have? And I'm just like, I'm okay. I don't really need anything today. And it's just like, oh, really? Well, if you're going to be here, you're going to need to spend money. And I'm just like, what do you mean here? I'm just in the world. And it's just like, yeah, you have to buy something now. It's even getting to the point where, like, I feel like even my thoughts are getting expensive.
Really?
You know? Like I could just have the thought of like, my nose is a little stuffy. And then all of a sudden, I open up my phone 10 minutes later and have 12 ads for like, oh, you have a pollen allergy and you got to buy these anti-pollen allergy pills or you're going to suffocate in your sleep. Sleep is the only place I still feel kind of safe. But even there, it's like I could have sleep problems for one night and then I wake up feeling kind of groggy and all of a sudden I'm getting targeted ads for melatonin gummies. It's like all of our necessities are still expensive. And then also just every increment of our life costs something.
Shit crazy.
You know why LA feels like it's pushing you out? Because in just over 10 years, the cost of living has more than doubled, but opportunity hasn't. In 2012, the median home here was $367,000. Now, $1.1 million. That's a mortgage jump from about $2,200 a month to over $6,000, while incomes only went up 40%. The rents have more than doubled too, up about.
How is this even possible? How is this? That's why they say like this is not sustainable. How this is just whoa.
About 103%, and there's almost nothing available. Vacancy rates in LA are 4%. A healthy market is closer to 8%. We have half the breathing room of a balanced market, so prices keep climbing. And when people can't buy, they rent. When they can't rent, they leave or they end up on the street. The big reason? We've made it incredibly hard to build enough homes. Right now, 74% of our residential land is zoned for single-family houses only, meaning you can't build duplexes, triplexes, or small apartment buildings in the majority of the city. So here's how we got to fix it. Number one, we have to upzone smartly. We need to let people build 4 to 6 unit buildings in flat, transit-friendly neighborhoods. We need to turn underused commercial land into housing. Think empty storefronts or half-empty parking lots, even empty skyscrapers. Speed up approvals. Cut permitting from 18 months to 60 days if the project meets the rules. Build faster on public land. We can use modular construction so homes go up in months, not years. And we need to stop the artificial delays and the loopholes that let people drag projects out from months into years. We need the political will to open this city up so it works for everyone. Because if LA only works for a shrinking slice of people at the very top, we're going to continue to lose what makes the city so special. A city where teachers, nurses, small business owners, and yes, the next generation of your own kids can't afford to live is a city in decline. But we can turn that around. We just have to choose a future where LA belongs to the many, not the few. Follow me for more on how we make LA livable for everyone.
The many, not the few.
How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living?
We're not. Truth of the matter, most of us are living paycheck to paycheck with credit card debt. I know people who are legitimately putting gas and groceries on credit cards just so that they can get back and forth to work.
Jeez.
I believe that this is what most people are now calling the silent depression. $100 has become the new $20, and it's ridiculous. But the best thing about it is that people have shifted their core values. Look at this app alone and all the videos of all the retailers on Black Friday that nobody was there. They just don't care anymore. People are realizing that if it doesn't bring value into my life, then I don't need it.
That's a fact.
And while I don't get political on this app, you're having people on both sides of the aisles going, yeah, this kind of sucks. Right wing, left wing, it doesn't matter. It's the same bird. And now so many Americans are going, I truly I don't care. I think it's woken a lot of people up to the idea of why are we funding things that we don't care about when all of us right here are struggling. It's changed the people's attitude in the workforce to where a job is just a job. You used to be very loyal to a job, but they've seen that there's no employee loyalty because there's no employer loyalty.
Right.
People aren't putting up with toxic bosses anymore. You're either going to treat me right or I'm going to leave, because there's tons of companies that are hiring because nobody can find help. People just don't trust the system anymore, and they're starting to focus on what matters the most. Most people are out here making more money than they ever have and realizing that it's not going anywhere.
Damn.
So they're just not spending it. And what has made a lot of people turn their back on the system is that now they somehow either make too much or not enough money to qualify for the government assistance that they've been paying into their entire life.
Jeez.
There are people out there who can't afford to buy the groceries, but they make too much money to get the food stamps. A lot of people are out here calling it the depression. I like to call it the awakening. People are just realizing how much they can get done on their own and that they don't need the government to hold their hand. So to go back to your question, how are people making it? Financially, I don't really know. But I'm very grateful that people are starting to look for answers.
I like what he said, calling it the awakening.
America is collapsing before our very eyes. Restaurants are closing their doors for good in my city at a record pace. They're blaming it on a slow season, but I think it's something else. You can't tell me the amount of abandoned strip malls that I drive by on a daily basis is normal. I know you've seen it too. All these places just get replaced with the capybara cafe de jour or a flower store to placate the masses, if you know what I mean. There used to be 24-hour diners, family-owned restaurants, even bookstores, I don't know, third spaces. Now, nothing. Luxury apartments that sit vacant forever. Grocery stores that have been closed for 10 years. So much wasted space in empty parking lots until some TikTok trend comes, opens for 6 months, and then that closes too. I know I'm not alone in this, but yet every single time I bring it up, I get all the bots in my comments telling me the economy's never been better. But I ask for who? Like 100 people at the top? So the billionaires are doing great. I don't care. People like you and me, we're struggling out here. All my friends live in vans. And if we are lucky enough to have apartments or houses, we're living behind locked doors and closed blinds because there's no community here anymore. Restaurants are just the beginning. They're the canary in the coal mine. Once they're gone, so are all of our meeting places, our birthday parties, our community, and third spaces. They're not just a place to buy food. They're a pulse of the neighborhood. Also, as a live singer, something hugely important to my job. I used to sing 5 nights a week. Now, I'm lucky if I can find a Sunday night gig. So I'm just here to say, if this is what a booming economy sounds like, it must be the sound of doors slamming shut. And I don't know about you, but I'm making my exit plan. We're moving to Portugal soon, where they still have cafes and restaurants that people actually go to. If you find that interesting, stick around. Because I can tell you this is not normal. And don't let internet comments gaslight you into thinking it is.
I ain't never looked into Portugal. Let me know about Portugal.
Just thinking this morning about our country and late stage capitalism and the cost of living and how much money everyone has to make to even afford to have a family these days. And it's what, like $250,000 minimum? Yeah, John and I have 2 kids and we don't make close to that. Not even close. Trying try like at least $100,000 less than that. So we're barely making it. And we have 2 good high-paying jobs as an electrical engineer and a nurse. Now, everyone always says, like, they make so much money, you guys should be doing so much better. They don't make that much money, okay? And the fact that the wages haven't gone up with inflation means we've been getting pay cuts basically the last 4 years. So we're not doing okay. Nobody's doing okay in this economy. This is what we're so upset about. And then you add in authoritarianism and fascism on top of that. Like, what kind of country are we leaving for our kids where we teach them it's okay that they go to school and then their friends are missing the next day because they were rounded up by ICE? This is not an okay world. This is what I don't want to leave my kids. This is what I want to protect them from. This is one of the reasons why we're moving to Europe. I'm tired of it. I haven't even touched on healthcare. That's a whole other story that we've spent over $10,000 a year on.
People getting up out of here. People getting up out of here. I ain't did research on Portugal and I ain't did research on Europe. Y'all gotta let me know in the comments what's up. People is getting up out of here though. Oh.
For the last 4 years. Childcare. $24,000 a year. Just so that I can go to work and not spend time with my kids. It's fucking insane. How does anybody live in this world? Like, how does anybody make that $250,000 every single year to just like be okay? I don't know anyone else except for like doctors who are doing fine.
Damn.
What are we going towards? What is the end goal here? Like, is anybody else as upset as I am seeing everything that's going on? I mean, I'm just ranting this morning. Sometimes I'm just getting in my thoughts and my feels, and I can't believe that this is the reality that we're living in right now.
All right, guys, that was another TikTok compilation, man. If you made it this far, you a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. People ain't playing. They getting up out of here. They getting up out of here. They going to Europe. They going to Portugal. They like, look, it is unsustainable for everything, for the inflation to be going up and all this type of stuff, and the wages not to go up at all and staying stagnant, and some of them are taking pay cuts. How are we able to survive on the bare necessities? I like what Buddy said though, is making people change their perspective on what's actually valuable to them. If it's not bringing me any value, I don't need it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all let me know in the comments, are y'all seeing things in your own communities where they're shutting down restaurants, where they're shutting down shopping malls? And what is people saying in the communities that y'all operate in and live in? Y'all let me know in the comments, because it's a big world out there, so y'all let me know. But till next time, man, self-love and positivity. Share this with somebody, man. Fire Squad, I got you and you know it.